This is 24/7 Wall Street Live in New York City. The market right now is likely to drop. The reason is oil is going up. When oil goes up, the market almost always falls. Oil is about to hit its peak level in history. That means we'll start to run out of oil soon. Good reason to go out and buy yourself some solar stocks or nuclear energy stocks, the guys who are going to power the world in the future. First story here is Apple. Apple. There's nothing in the news other than Apple recently. The first thing that happened is the Chinese said they're not going to buy as many iPhones. What happens then? Well, Apple drops. But the new iPhone is coming out today. It's the big deal every year. Tim Cook, the CEO, goes onto a stage and shows it. What's going to happen? Well, you're not going to know for a few weeks when Apple starts to put out news about how many of these things it's actually sold. Next up is the UAW. The UAW wants to basically put the U.S. car companies out of business. It's asked for a 42% wage increase over the next 4 years. That really isn't something that these guys can afford at the car companies, particularly since they're putting billions of dollars into EVs. The good news is they were asking for a 42% increase over 4 years. They've dropped that into the mid-30s. It's still going to be a slaughter to earnings. The lottery is coming up at $550 million. A lot of people are going to say to themselves, I'm going to spend $1 for a lottery ticket, or maybe spend 20. Guess what? The chances you're going to make anything are virtually zero. So don't stand in line and waste your money. Another thing that's important is that Hostess has merged with J.W. Schmucker. That means the guys who make these little Hostess cream pies are going to be owning a company that makes some sort of a jelly. It's a $5.6 billion deal. Now, what does this mean? Well, you can go to the store, get some Twinkies, go to another aisle, get some Schmuckers, go home, open your Twinkies, get some bread, toast it, put the Schmuckers on, and then eat them at the same time. You can have a sugar shock, and it may kill you. At the very least, 20 hours later, you're going to feel like you've got to go to sleep. Recently, a study came out that said American household income has got up to $154 trillion. That's about 6 times the annual GDP of the United States. The reason for this is, according to economists, the price of people's homes have gone up. That means they have more home equity. At the same time, people's stock has gone up. That means that they've got more money in their stock accounts. But don't believe this. You're really a chucklehead if you think this is true for most Americans, because most Americans don't own really nice houses, and most Americans don't have money in the stock market. So if you're one of these people, probably you're getting further into debt because debt is going up. So are you better off than you used to be? Not really. That $154 billion is going to belong to somebody else. Moving over to forecasts for what the Fed is going to do, a guy named Steve Forbes said, you know what? Rates are not going to drop anytime soon. You don't remember Steve Forbes. You're too young. Steve was the head of Forbes, which was one of the big business magazines about 100 years ago. Steve is probably 100 years old now. He used to be considered one of the great economists in the United States. I really don't think that's true anymore, but you know what? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and listen to the old guy. He doesn't think that the Fed is going to drop rates, and if he's right, it's going to be a rough sledding for both the stock market and the economy. Did you think that Starbucks was a big deal and that it had stores on every corner? Well, that's true in the United States, and they want it to be true in China. They've got over 6,000 stores there. But guess what? They're not number one over there. A company called Luckin Coffee is. It's owned by the Chinese. The problem is that Starbucks is not well known as a brand over there as Luckin is. And let's look at what could happen. If you look at what the Chinese want to do right now, they want to slow down the Americans, and they want to slow them down worldwide. Places like Walmart and McDonald's and McDonnell Douglas. The problem that the United States has in this trade war with China is China can bite back. And if they do, you won't be able to buy an iPhone there. You won't be able to go to a Walmart. You also won't be able to go to Starbucks because Luckin Coffee is there waiting for you. What's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 days ahead? Well, the first thing is that the AI battle is still going on Wall Street. Oracle, one of the big tech companies, announced that their earnings were poor, but they pushed and pushed on their AI business. Guess what? It wasn't enough. People don't care enough about AI anymore to be able to say, I'll bid this stock up because they're in the AI business. So a point that's worth mentioning is every time you hear that a company's in the AI business, it may not mean anything. So don't bid up a stock because somebody said, wow, AI, that's really great. I've got to own that stock. And sometimes that's true, like with NVIDIA, but in other cases it really isn't. So that's today's market report. We're going to be on here every single day at 9 a.m. It's going to be live. As I said, you can put your comments in, and a lot of people have put them in, but the fact of the matter is I don't have any interest in your comments, and I'm not going to go back to them at all.